Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
All good, thank you. Okay, thank you. Apologies. An apology has been received from Alderman Greenfield. Can I ask if there's any more apologies from the floor, please? Okay, no lights on, that's fine. Declarations of interest, we will take those as we go. We have 2 members online so far, and that is Councillor Nelson and Alderman Tinsley. Okay, members, that is going to take us to 3.1. We have our 3 heads of service, I believe, here to answer any questions, and members will note that this is an information item. Are we all content with 3.1? Okay, we'll move on then. Okay, members, that brings us to 4.1, and Gillian is here to present.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. I take you to the item for decision at 4.1. This is a food control appointment of public analyst to the Council as an update, members. This is a procedural matter as required by the Food Law Code of Practice. There have been some additions to the staff within the Council's appointed public analyst provider. So members, the decision required this evening recommend that members agree to the appointment of the named individuals in the report to the role of public analyst to the Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Gillian. I'm going to need a proposer and seconder for this, please. Proposed by Alderman Berry, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Evans. Thank you very much. Okay, members, happy to move on. 4.2 then is for information. Have members any questions on that? Okay, no lights on. That brings us to 5.1 then, and Kirsty is going to take us through this one, please.
Through the Chair, good evening, members. I have in front of you our DERA regulatory reporting. It's the mitigation report, and it is listed as a draft report because officers have already submitted the mitigation report, and we sought confirmation from DERA that it could be done retrospectively. So this is an item for decision. Members are asked to consider this report and approve Council's first DERA mitigation report as set out in the appendices, which is the report, the governance and the boundary, and authorise for mitigation report to be analysed and published by DERA. Members were aware last month that we did give a breakdown of what the mitigation report involved. Council does have an obligation to complete and submit the report, and as stated in previous committee as an item for information, there were 7 categories within the report. It is quite a detailed report, and officers spent quite a lengthy time pulling it together. The narrative was quite straightforward to do with the climate change governance structures, objectives and strategies. The reporting boundary, as you can see, we had to establish, set and collect the data with regard to Scope 1, Scope 2, and we did touch on Scope 3. So we have provided the emissions statement, and we did the indirect greenhouse gas emissions, and we looked at our actions and we looked at our case studies, and tonight we're looking at the validation of the data and authorisation for the report to be submitted, which has been done retrospectively, as I already alluded to. So when we've looked at the strategies, you will note that at the beginning of the report that we have alluded to and aligned with our corporate plan. We've looked at our agricultural strategy. We've looked at our connected community plan, which was updated there recently, and we've linked it in with our climate action plan. So we've left no stone unturned. But if I take you back to the data that we have collated, this report has been very useful and beneficial. It's been a great exercise for ourselves as officers and for the organisation in identifying the need to improve our systems and processes for monitoring the data, which is also included in our climate action plan for 25 to 2030. When we go back to the actual data that we have used, we have actual, estimated and combined, which has been incorporated through either our meter readings or invoices, and we have gone into quite a lot of detail and pulling together all the information that has been required to ensure that the report has been as detailed as physically possible, because it was quite a complex and arduous exercise for ourselves as officers to pull together all the data. So what I can say is this is a great start for our council in being able to set a baseline and going forward, being able to improve and develop our systems and processes going forward. As I've stated, the report has already been submitted. Officers did seek peer review from Newry and Mourne and Down Council, and also from the Northern Ireland Museum Service. It has also been approved by EMT, and now it's in front of you this evening for further justification of having validation from Council. What I can say is DAERA have not provided us with a response time frame, so officers will only be able to update you on the information when it's been published by DAERA, and as soon as we're made aware that it's being published, we will bring it back to committee and through the natural process. So again, members are asked to consider the draft report and approve, as well as authorise for the mitigation report to be analysed and published by DAERA. And we'll also put a link on our own council website to DAERA once it is published. But I would like to say that this has been a great opportunity for ourselves. There has been a lot of hard work put into it, and it's a good starting line for ourselves when we go to report again in the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Members, this is a decision item, so I'm going to need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Alexander. Thank you, members. Okay. Oh, Councillor McClelland, bring in.
Okay, Chair, thank you for letting me in, and thank you to Kirsty and her team for all of the hard work in terms of the data collection, and certainly it's to be acknowledged that there has been a huge amount of data collected, and of course it's always good. It's always good to have a baseline, and as someone once said, you know, when you're at the start of this type of exercise and you want to seek improvement, it's important that the baseline is as realistic as is possible. And I think that it's certainly to be welcomed in terms of the report that we have worded like setting realistic reduction targets, because I think the elephant in the room around all of this is 2050. It's the Green Party / Alliance Party Climate Act of 3 years ago setting unrealistic targets. It's going to have to be looked at again. The calls for that are sort of increasing almost by the day. So I think it's to be welcomed that we are getting from officers, and I thank you that we are getting words like realistic in these reports, because, Chair, that is progress in my book. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McClelland. So that is 5.1 proposed and seconded, so we go to 5.2, and I believe Claire is going to take us through this one. Claire.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, elected members. This is a standard report item which is brought before you every year, I believe. It's a simple ask. It's a recommendation that we invite the Loughnane Partnership to present to us an update of their work to date this year and present their draft plan for next year, so that consideration be given to the request for an uplift. So elected members, over to you then to approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, members, going to need a proposer and seconder for this. Proposed by Councillor Ratcliffe, seconded by Councillor Evans, and I'm going to bring in Councillor McClelland, you're coming to propose. That's okay, members. Thank you. That's proposed and seconded. So 5.3 then is an update on Banbridge and Market Hill bowling greens, and Claire is here if there's any questions. Okay, Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Chair. And Claire, thank you for the report. I caught up with my colleague, Councillor Ferguson, who was the one who actually requested this report at full council last month. And
Councillor Alexander, can I get you to move your microphone just in
Sorry.
front of you? You're okay.
there we go. Yeah, just a couple of questions really. And the first one is from myself, just around, I see here there's obviously reference to the fact that I think we had 3 fine turf operators and it's now down to 1 trainee, I believe. So there are some vacancies and there was some sickness as well. There's no mention under the section relating to Market Hill Bowling Green of how many staff we have dealing with the issues there. And I just wondered, is there an opportunity to maybe, I don't know, sort of share resources across the two? It also mentioned that there was a head greensman from the Golf and Ski Centre attended the Market Hill one. I don't know if that happened at Banbridge as well. And then it also mentions that there's potential for a partnership agreement with the Banbridge Club. I'd like an update on where that has got to and if there are sort of any opportunities there. And then just around understanding what resources we have maybe out at the Golf and Ski Centre for the golf club at the club in Market Hill as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor Alexander. I suppose one thing I would say is that I've been in post now for about a year and getting a feel for the team and some opportunities to maybe reflect on our structures. So I've been having conversations with some of my colleagues, including Jonathan, in recent weeks about the possibility of conducting a review of the grounds maintenance side of the Climate Sustainability and Parks Service. It's very clear that there are some challenges within the team at the minute, particularly around fine turf and around supervisors and management cover. So I have started the process of looking at that and looking at, is there an opportunity for centralising some of those services, or also looking at other delivery models, whether we can bring in external providers to look at that as well. So that will be looked at in time, but it will take a number of months to do. In terms of the partnership agreement, that's at very early stages. Again, it goes back to the fact that we are really short of supervisory and management staff within the grounds maintenance team at the minute. So there are challenges in terms of managing the day-to-day operations, and to look at partnership agreements will take some time. So I'm hoping that whenever I get back to a full complement of staff, we'll be able to do that. But it was discussed last month with one of your colleagues in a meeting, and Jonathan and I are due to meet with your colleague again and representative of that bowling club, I think on the 19th of November, so we'll be able to pick up on that then too. All right.
Thank you. Claire, I'm going to bring in Alderman Berry, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and also to Claire, because when this was raised by myself and my other colleagues within the Cruiser DA in relation to Market Hill and Rich Hill, because of the concerns raised there, they're a great bunch of people in these bowling clubs and very rarely will contact us. They just get on with it. But it had got to a stage where clearly there was more that needed to be done, and as soon as we contacted Claire, immediately she dealt with it. She started the process, and whilst the report's here and it's very welcome, and we see that there's more to be done, the fact is that you get it, and Claire has grasped this here, and as a member and other members, I'm confident that Claire and her team are dealing with this now, because I think it was like other areas within that particular department. Now that Claire's here, she's getting a feel of it, and she's fine. It sort of fell by the wayside in some cases, the bowling greens and the maintenance and what's needed done. We were just sort of keeping on top of it, and that was literally about it. But there was more that was needed to be done to keep the greens right and to work closer with the teams out at Market Hill and Rich Hill and other areas. So I just want to place on record my thanks to Claire for how she immediately got it, dealt with it, started to meet the folk out there along with Mark Bailey and others, and that provided a great reassurance to the folk in Market Hill and Rich Hill. So I just want to thank you, Claire, and look forward to further reports as to how we get the structure right, so that we're on an even playing field, that there's equality right across the ABC area in relation to the bowling greens and to the service that provided, because there has been that breakdown in relation to service delivery in bowling greens. So thank you very much, Claire. It's work that's ongoing. It's a report that's in front of us that I've never seen before. So I want to thank you and your team, and hope that everything continues to go according to plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Berry. I'm going to bring in Councillor Ratcliffe, please.
Thank you, Chair. And as Alderman Barry's already said, the councillors were all contacted in Cusher, and as he's rightly said, you never really hear anything about the bowling greens. You know, the people do just get on with it, and I'd just like to put on record, thanks, Claire, for the report and the work that she's going to do going forward here, and hopefully, once we get into the spring and the summer months, hopefully the greens will be in a lot better condition. And thanks again, Claire, for all your help going forward with us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to bring in Alderman Moutry, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to echo what my two colleagues have just said in relation to Claire. It's hard to believe that you're here a year, Claire, but you've always been open, amenable and accessible to us as elected members, and it's greatly appreciated. But I'm also aware that you have considerable levels of absence within your department of senior management, and when councillors come to you with an ask, I think it's important that we're informed the level of absence you have. Is it possible that members of this committee can be supplied with a table just as to what your level of attendance, who you have in and who you don't have? I don't mean naming names, but I mean at what levels, because it gives us a more accurate picture as to what the position is in your department.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry. I'm hearing that officers will bring that report. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to bring in Councillor McClellan, please.
Yes, Chair, thank you. And I suppose it's just to sort of echo the words of the three previous speakers, especially my colleague Alderman Moutray. And I guess it's the follow-on question. And Claire, you did reference it, you know, at the point in future when you will have a full team. You know, I would like to hear, maybe not necessarily here, but you know, at some stage offline, realistically, at what stage can we hope that you will have a full team? Thanks.
I'm going to bring in Alderman Kennedy, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's just to reiterate what everyone else in the Cusher area has said. Big thanks to Claire for the swift response there. I was talking to Mark a few days after it was first raised, and he had already been out on site. So that really ticks the boxes when the folks got a swift response. So thank you again, Claire, and your team.
Thank you, Alderman Kennedy. I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Dowd, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Claire, you are doing fantastic work, and I know you are short-staffed. In relation to the bowling greens, I think personally that they should be upgraded. We're sitting now with a world champion in bowls of the world here in Ireland, and I think that should be something that should be recognised. So I think it should be carried on. David Copeland is renowned now, so he is around the world, and for a small island of Ireland to have a world champion, I think it's amazing.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. Okay, members, are we all content to move on from 5.3? No further lights on. So that brings me then to the Environmental Services report, and we'll take these one by one. 6.1 then, any questions on the new line? Okay, I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Dowd, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It is in relation to the work that's being carried out. That's going to be carried out on the new line, so I don't know if you want me to continue with asking the question. Okay, so I'd just like to know what measures are being put in place with the extra, because we all know fly tipping is an issue everywhere. It's not just Lurgan. So I would like to know what measures are going to be put in place for whenever it is closed, for people that just don't want to go somewhere else and will maybe up the stakes of chancing their arm and fly tipping anywhere.
And the other one, will there be extended hours within the other sites to accommodate New Line being closed?
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd, and I'm going to pass to Lisa to answer that one.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questions there as well. We will be monitoring fly tipping very closely with this as well. We have a couple of different sort of cleansing teams. We have our blitz squad there, and we will be monitoring the fly tipping over this period. We will also have a communication plan in place then as well for members of the public, for all site users. Once we know the dates when the sites are going to be closed, we'll be able to put all that in action. And with regard to the extended opening hours, officers are working at the moment to look at extending the opening hours on the other sites and the other 8 recycling centres that we currently have to accommodate this 3-week period that we propose to be closing for. But once I have further information, I will certainly let members know of the exact dates then as well for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to bring in Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair. And I have raised these issues before, but I make no apology for raising them again. What has been done to mitigate the disruption? I mean, it says here 3 weeks. What has been done? Does this include evening, weekend work to try and minimise that? If we had weekend work, this could be pulled down to 2 weeks, I'm sure, as an absolute maximum. What happens if, God forbid, we had a spell of frost in the middle of this concreting? And also then, when is it scheduled to take place? Because we're getting closer and closer to Christmas, and that's a concern as well.
Okay, members. Due to procurement regulations, we will need to go into confidential to allow officers to answer that. So can I get a proposer and seconder to go into confidential? Proposed by Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Okay, ICT, can we confirm we've cut the feed? All good, okay. I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Dowd.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was just, have you at the minute checked to see if we can get extra bulk lifts?
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. I'm going to bring in Lisa for that one.
Yes, thank you for the question again there too. We're looking at our resources that we have, and if we have enough resources to do that, then we will apply additional bulky to the area. All the other recycling centres will be open during this time to accept bulky items, and we're hoping that when we communicate this out to the public, if they can hold their bulky items for the 3-week period prior to that, it would be preferable, or they can use one of the other recycling centres. But we are looking operationally at our resources that we have to be able to revert it to this service.
Councillor O'Dowd, are you going to come back in on that? Okay, yeah.
Thank you. It's just my issue is we would be getting closer to Christmas. I know in a lot of households, and I think it was Councillor Nelson beforehand at the last meeting had said we never were clearing out for Santa coming. a lot of people would want to get rid of bulky goods. So that would be an issue, and again down maybe to fly tipping and things like that. So that would be a major issue there, is if they can't get them till another recycling centre, then we're going to end up with them on the side of the road.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd, and officers are going to keep that under review. Are you okay with that? Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to bring in Councillor Mallon, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lisa, for the report. Would it be an idea to put skips in Lurgan somewhere, a wee bit closer to Lurgan, than having to travel further afield to dump? 2 or 3 supervised skips in the area.
Yes, thank you for the question there. Yes, and we will be looking at what resources we have available and whether or not we can put a skip or a bin lorry within these areas. We will certainly look at that operationally at the time and monitor that and keep it under monitor and review then during that period. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay. Okay, members, that's 6.1. No more questions. So 6.2 then. Any questions on that one? Okay, I have no lights. That brings us then to our single item of correspondence. Members, are you happy to note that one? Okay, all good. Can I get a proposer and seconder to go into committee for consideration of the confidential items of business, please? Proposed by Councillor Alexander and seconded by Councillor Evans. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting, and this will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential on so that the meeting can proceed again in open session. Okay, all good. Members, can I get a proposer and seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee, please? Proposed by Councillor Evans and seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. Thank you. Okay, we have no AOB. Members, this part of the meeting is now over. We will now take a short 5-minute comfort break before commencing the training. Members who are online, please stay on the current link and we will resume matters shortly. Thank you.